Real quick, is there anyone that you want to spend a considerable amount of time on?
Oh,
Because
well, there's a
I
good
can
question.
shoot through. Yeah, I can shoot through choosing sides real quick, and I do want to talk about Miss Marvel a little bit. Um,
Yeah, we'll talk about Miss Marvel some.
Uncanny Avengers.
Um,
We might end up getting
Spider
into
Man's
something.
getting interesting.
Yeah, and we got a bunch of it to talk about too. So, screw that Ant-Man book. Um,
Not really.
Yeah, no, not really.
Nova's getting interesting.
If you say so.
I
Yeah.
say
Okay.
so. I proclaim it.
Okay. All right. So Miss Marvel, see what happens in Spider-Man. We're gonna try not to get bogged down in Spider-Man. Um, and then
Fine. We
Uncanny
won't talk
Avengers.
about Spider Man.
No, we can talk about plenty of stuff. I just don't like. We got 19 books, so I don't want this to be like super long. I'm trying to watch the
I
clock a little
understand.
better. So not like I'm aiming for a specific time, but when we start creeping on that 2 hour mark, and we're still talking about Uncanny Avengers, it's like, oh, okay, we got to go. All right, cool. I'm ready when you are.
Count it.
Oh, did you want to plug anything on the website since that's what we talked about earlier?
Yep, I got it.
Okay, cool. Hang on, making sure my phone's silent. All right, counting down. 3, 2, 1.
This is the 6 month behind podcast for the week of 3/6/17, where we discuss all the comics that came out this week in the Marvel Unlimited app. I'm Pat.
And I am Sean.
And we are the Bobby Knight and Nolan Richardson of the Marvel Unlimited world, where we're just a couple of cranky old basketball coaches discussing old crinkled comic books who be given a new digital life in the, it's just floating out there in the digital world.
All right, that was a mouthful.
Yeah,
that was a lot. Yeah. All right. You overwhelmed me a little.
Make this stuff off the top of my head, man. Come
on. I can tell. How you doing tonight, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm enjoying some
on caffeine, ready to go. Come on.
Yeah, I'm enjoying some water. It's cold. There's nothing in
it. That's exciting.
Yeah. So if you want to get in touch with us, go ahead and email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. That's the number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. We would also like it if you visit our website at,
which is www.6monthsbehind.com, where I have finally finished putting up all the alternate covers for the month of March. I say finally because there's a lot of them. Civil War 5 is coming out the last week of March. Marvel decided to introduce cosplay covers this month. Did you happen to go look at those?
I haven't.
Did you have the opportunity? They're interesting. They're both male and female, and they're interesting. They're entertaining.
You and I had a conversation about this off the air a little earlier, and we're just going to say Marvel knows their audience.
They know their audience. Yes.
Yeah.
They do.
And you should go look at the covers because Pat puts a lot of hard work into putting them up, and you should go look at them because he does a lot of hard work, and not because there's hot women on the covers of those comic books.
No.
Right. Precisely.
No.
Because we're not sexist pigs.
And there's also some good covers there, some good artwork. Rob Liefeld did an alternate cover. I didn't know he was back working for Marvel.
Yeah, he's
doing an alternate cover for something.
Yeah, he's doing a new Deadpool book, is my understanding.
Really?
Yeah.
Every month I see different things that just surprise me when I put the alternate covers up. And Scotty Young did a what did he do? He did an alternate Thor cover, I think.
Oh, that would
Which is actually pretty cool. That was pretty cool. I've got to go. I got to go back and find it. I'll try and text it to you tonight. It was pretty cool. I believe it was an alternate Thor cover. It was really, Scotty Young's work is so goofy, but this was not
it's
goofy
real cartoonish,
right? But this was. I mean, this actually looked good, and it was just it his work is, but it actually made it look good, it was really entertaining.
Cool, man. Well, anyway, we got plenty of books to get into. Just into plot points and spoilers here. So if you haven't read anything, just be warned, spoilers ahead. Go ahead and pause the podcast and come back when you're done.
Yes, and last week I went on a rant and discussed some spoilers. I guess you got mad and went on Wikipedia and read about something and started texting me rants about what's upcoming in books. So it's at any point we could become unhinged and go on a rant, and there's no telling what we may spoil. So you have been warned.
Right.
Okay. You've been warned.
Yeah. It's not just spoilers for what's happening in these books, but since we are 6 months behind, sometimes we know what's already happened.
Yeah. And obviously, I mean, we're comic book fans. We all are. Yeah. And this is an app for 6 months behind, and we try not to spoil anything. And a lot of times we don't want to know what's happening in the future, but we all do. I mean, the websites are out there, the news is out there, what's coming. Everybody knew Captain America regained his youth happened, and then we had to wait 6 months to see the issue. You knew he became a Hydra agent when it happened, and then we had to wait 6 months to see the issue. You have to live under a rock not to know these things. And we try not to talk about it on the show, but when sometimes these things happen, and it's hard for us not to talk about it on the show. So if we let it slip, if we get angry and go into a rant and it comes out, you've been warned.
Yep. Turn who are spoiler unfriendly, or however the saying goes. Getting straight into our Civil War books this week, we have Civil War Choosing Sides number 5. I like this book. I like this format. I like getting just the 3 little stories that are real quick, that are just kind of quick spotlights on how the Civil War is affecting every part of the Marvel Universe. So in our first story, Alpha Flight is meeting with Justin Trudeau, who's the Canadian Prime Minister. They're kind of questioning him about how he feels regarding the whole Civil War thing and what they're doing, this whole predictive justice bit. Also, Justin Trudeau is Tony Stark's boxing partner. In our second story, Misty Knight and the Howling Commandos are on a mission transporting some bad guy to a SHIELD facility. By the way, Jasper Sitwell, the zombie, is driving the van, which I thought was really funny.
Yeah, I did too. That was entertaining.
Yeah. So they get attacked by Colleen Wing, who I guess is Misty's former partner.
Yes.
Okay. I couldn't really tell what was going on there, or they knew each other. No, man, I didn't read any of that old stuff.
Well, it's not that old.
Define that old.
5-10 years.
Oh, is it not? I thought it was like stuff that happened in the 70s.
Well, I mean, it did. It happened in the 70s and 80s, but I mean, as recently as 5 or 10 years ago, they were hanging out together. Maybe more recent than that.
Oh, well, all right. Anyway, this Colleen Wing, she wants to take this dude that they're transporting back with her to track down a missing child. I don't know what any of this has to do with Civil War, but okay. Unless Ulysses is the missing child.
No, I think it was just Ulysses knew that the van was going to be hijacked, and they stuck Misty Knight on there, and then she winds up fighting Colleen Wing, and she's not cool with doing it. I believe. I really don't know, and I'm not sure I care.
Okay. Third story, it's about Nick Fury. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's just go read it. It's totally worth reading. Overall, I felt it was a really good book. Well, it was all right. I mean, like I said earlier, I like these where they're just kind of giving us little peeks into other parts of the universe.
Right.
Then moving on to Miss Marvel, which I'm keep liking this book more and more. Kamala Khan's a really interesting character, I think, and some of the issues that they bring up, and it's her learning the consequences of her actions, as we see in this book. And sometimes you can do really good storytelling there. So in the beginning, we have a flashback of Kamala's first day of second grade. And this is where she meets her friend Bruno for the first time. Then back in the present, she's sitting at Bruno's bedside in the hospital because it was the last issue that like the prison thing.
He tried to break into the prison, and apparently he tried to somehow magnetically open the door, and the magnetic lock backfired and basically blew up and electrocuted him.
Yeah. Okay. Now, that's what I remembered, but I wasn't sure how long it had actually been.
It was the end of issue 9. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, he's pretty banged up, man. I mean, they're talking about paralysis on his left side, and Miss Marvel's pretty upset about it. So eventually, she just gets angry and goes back to the waterfront to confront the neo-Nazi kids who made this whole mess. And it's funny because they have an interesting conversation regarding this predictive justice thing. And we get that answer that we're looking for about Ulysses. He's not omniscient. He's flawed, and his abilities are flawed. And I think that continuing to use his abilities as if they were absolutely true will continue to result in unintended consequences, like you've seen in this book here. What do you think?
I have no comment.
Okay.
We'll get into spoiler territory if I comment on that.
All right, then. So what happens in their conversation is that Kamala realizes that, in fact, she could have prevented all this, and that in reality, she's the one who brought all this about. So she decides to shut the program down, which the neo-Nazi kids don't just take without putting up a fight. And one of them throws on some plasma armor, and it's like, where does a kid in Jersey City get plasma armor?
I'm not real sure. I was wondering about that myself.
Yeah, and like, when did these kids just get the? It's like they became like little fascists overnight. They went on one mission with Miss Marvel and were like, "Oh, we're doing good stuff. Let's immediately become Nazis." I don't know. It was a little weird. The writing process, it's just a scapegoat. It's just a plot device. But you just have this little like.
It's one of those things that happens in comics sometimes is they accelerate the time process, and you never know how long these things take. If weeks have passed, if days have passed, if you never know how long has passed here.
Right. Yeah. I mean, how long has this been going on?
Right. And that's what you don't know.
So in the middle of this fight between the two of them, Captain Marvel shows up, Carol Danvers, and Kamala expresses her concern over the whole predictive justice thing. And in fact, I think one of her questions is, why did Ulysses see that happening, but not Bruno getting shocked and nearly dying, possibly dying? But Captain Marvel's not really hearing her. Like, she's so dedicated to this line of thought. She's so committed that she's determined to make it work no matter what, just to prove that it can work. And
well, she also says that she needs a win there.
Yeah, sure, but I think it's more complicated than that. I think Carol's got her blinders on.
Yeah, because she's desperate.
Right. And I mean, at some point you just say, you know what, maybe this isn't what it needs to be. Maybe I need to rethink this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you.
Okay. So
I mean, she's not going to because she's got her heel stuck in, but
exactly. That's the problem.
Right.
And it's Tony Stark's problem too. You know.
Dude, you and I never argue and stick our heels in.
No, I mean, why would we ever do that? No, man, you and I never disagree on anything, and just
yeah, we never, you know, you don't think the Big Bang Theory should have ended 3 years ago, and I think it should go on another 2 or 3. We never disagree about things like that.
Well, we didn't really stick our heels in over that. That's, you know, we disagree, but you know, it's not something that we're not able to convince each other of. You know, you convinced me that
we just
the show's probably still pretty good. We just disagree, but no, that's not what's happening here. Carol's
right.
It's like with the lady that she's detaining with the empty briefcase. You know, she'll create the evidence before she lets that woman go. She'll rationalize it any way that she can, and I don't know, man. You start getting into that territory and it scares me, any kind of ideology. So Kamala leaves and decides to team up with this ninja kid. I don't know what that's about, but and then things go bad for her friend Bruno back at the hospital. So overall, Miss Marvel's been kind of heavy lately, man.
You know, I never read this book before this series.
I didn't either.
I didn't read the previous series.
Yeah.
I'm really enjoying what they're doing with this series. And I wasn't familiar with any of the characters, wasn't familiar with Miss Marvel, wasn't really high on a new Miss Marvel. Had nothing to do with her being a Muslim, just didn't want another teenage character. Just didn't want it.
We don't care for the teenage stories.
Right. Didn't want another adult character being replaced by another teenage character. And this book has really won me over with this hero. It really has. Heroine, if you will. She's really doing a good job. And the writers and artists, well, maybe not the artists, the writers are really doing a good job with her.
Yeah, I agree. And it's this whole push that Marvel's doing to kind of put new people in these roles. You know, she's the new Miss Marvel. You have a female Thor. You know, you have more than one Captain America. There's that thing with Iron Man. And, you know, even Amadeus Cho being the Hulk now. This is a good execution of that plan. Of putting, you know, okay, Miles Morales is Spider-Man now, or, you know, Kamala Harris is Miss Marvel now, and Amadeus Cho is the Hulk now. People in the comic book community don't often take that well because it's a thing that they've done 100 times. I mean, how many times has Dick Grayson become Batman? Only to have it taken away because, you know, Bruce always comes back because he has to because he's Batman. They found a way to bridge this gap, and I think this is a really good implementation of a character taking over that role.
Jim Shooter, when he was editor-in-chief of Marvel in the early mid-'80s, wanted to replace all the heroes, and we may have talked about this before. Sometimes I forget what you and I talk about privately and what we talk about on the air.
Yeah.
Wanted to replace us. Wanted to literally, kill Tony Stark, kill Bruce Banner, just wipe them all out and replace them with newer versions, much like Marvel is doing now, except Marvel is just doing it more subtly. And the idea was shot down. That's how it's how you kind of got Jim Rhodes in the War Machine armor. They kind of made Tony Stark the drunk and shoved him aside, and you kind of got a different. Steve Rogers kind of retired the Captain America suit for a few issues. You got Beta Ray Thor. You got Thor retired for a few issues, and he just didn't. The readers just didn't buy into it at all. But they're doing it. They're executing it much, much better now, and it's really working. I mean, in 3 weeks in Unlimited, we're going to get Champions #1. We're going to take all these characters and basically form their own team of Avengers, which I'm looking forward to. It comes out the first weekend in April, whatever first Monday in April is. We get Champions #1, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, and Squirrel Girl's in it.
There you go.
Yeah, so
is she in it?
I didn't
think she was.
I think so. I feel like she is. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, we'll see.
But yeah, good book, man. It's one of those that if I probably wouldn't think to pick this up off the shelf if I were just at the comic book store, but I'm glad I'm reading it.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that I would be wanting to pick up off the comic book shelf.
Sure.
That's pretty much all our Civil War books. Moving on to Spider-Man, we got Amazing Spider-Man #17. And real quick,
it is Spider-Man week. Yes.
It really is. We got a ton of Spider-Man stuff. The cover on this is just fantastic.
It's Alex Ross, man. What else do you need?
We actually have a bunch of really good covers this week, I thought. The Spider-Gwen cover looks really cool. That Carnage cover is awesome. Even if you're not a fan, it's a cool cover.
There's Marvel is used to, if you did the interior art, you did the cover.
Yeah.
Marvel farms out the covers to, first off, you can go look at all those alternate covers. So there's 73 alternate covers. When I was buying IVX #6 last week, there was like 4 or 5 alternate covers on the shelf. And I happened to get the one I really wanted, which was the Jean Grey Phoenix alternate cover. And
oh, that's cool.
They're just doing a magnificent job with these covers, man. They're really cool. They're really cool.
Yeah,
young Jean Grey Phoenix, but even then, it still looked good.
But even like the Nova cover, it's simple. It's just Nova standing on the front holding his helmet, but it looks good.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking about that Nova book because I'm excited about it.
The Han Solo cover is good. The Wolverine annual is good. It's mocked up to be like what movie is that? I don't know. It's an homage to a movie poster. Anyway, Amazing Spider-Man.
I thought I had seen it before, but I couldn't remember where.
Yeah, it's one of those.
Amazing Spider-Man 17.
Yeah.
This is this is a long arc, and it couldn't be a Clone War series if it wasn't a long arc. This is the first part of. No, it couldn't be a Clone War, if it or a Clone Saga if it didn't go on for at least a year. So this is what we have is, what is this called? Before a Brand New Day. That's what before Dead No More.
No, so Brand New Day was 10 years ago.
Dead No More. Yes. We have before Dead No More, then we have Dead No More, then we have the whole clone thing.
Yeah, the Clone Saga.
And dude, this is the Clone Saga. And this is all leading up to it. I mean, you've got the Jackal here, you've got all the characters in place. And we begin with Max Dillon and his girlfriend who accidentally kills, and we immediately go into the Jackal's lab where the Lizard and the Rhino and Max Dillon's resurrected girlfriend are. Max Dillon, who's of course Electro, And we kind of switch scenes for a moment. You've got Spider-Man and the Prowler who are discussing the Prowler getting into New U laboratories, which the Prowler does. And then he sees what's going on in the lab. And about that time, they start trying to restore Max Dillon's powers, Electro's powers, and it doesn't work. And what happens is, apparently, when they resurrected Max Dillon's girlfriend, they resurrected her with some of, and it's a long story that isn't really worth telling, but they resurrected her with just a touch of Max's DNA. And because she has a touch of Max's DNA, Max doesn't get his powers, but she does. And about the time she gets Max's powers, the Prowler accidentally falls into the room, and she begins pursuing the Prowler and accidentally kills him. And after she accidentally kills him, which she doesn't mean to do, Professor Warren, aka the Jackal, I don't really understand why he resurrects the Prowler, but he does, and
because it's an end with
he resurrects him from the dead.
Yeah,
apparently, yes.
Now he has someone that Spider-Man trusts, or at the very least, Peter Parker.
Yeah. So he resurrects him, and the Prowler reports back to Peter Parker that everything's fine, and we're off to the races in chapter 2 or chapter 3 of Before
Dead No More.
Dead No More.
Yeah.
Which we've already got 4 or 5 characters who are dead no more, and I'm losing track of how many we're going to raise from the dead.
Yeah, we're just going to bring back everybody who has ever died in Spider-Man. One of which
it's all leading up to Gwen Stacy.
Yeah, it's all going to be Gwen Stacy, calling it.
Yeah.
That's not a spoiler. Neither of us know.
Yeah.
But
no, neither of us know. But you just bet your last dollar on it.
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
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 You've already got alternate universe Gwen Stacy's running around everywhere. You might as well bring the other one back.
Sure.
Yeah. And then Spider-Man number 7. I forget, we've had so many now. Miles Morales is having nightmares about the Hulk killing everybody and going on a rampage.
By the way, let me stop you for a moment, and you're going to get to her. Who's the young lady he's talking to in this book?
I was going to ask you that because I don't know. I assume that she's somebody who maybe got over from the Ultimate Universe when the two worlds collided. Maybe it's somebody who that just sprung up in the 8 months in between Secret Wars and when all this started, the new status quo started. I don't know, but
I hate it when you've got a new series, and I've read all 7 issues of this series, and a character shows up, and I'm thinking,
you get nothing.
Right. I'm thinking, I've read all 7 issues. I have no idea who this person is. I've got no backstory, not even just a paragraph saying, "Oh, I haven't seen you since this."
Mm-hmm.
To give me just a fraction of a backstory as to who she is.
Well, here's what makes me think that we're not supposed to know who she is there's no editor's note either. This is a perfect place to drop an editor's note and say, this is see Spider-Man and what is her name? Cannonball? What is it?
I don't know.
Go see their adventures in their how they met each other in this, or her origin story or whatever.
Yeah, didn't get any of it. Okay, go ahead.
Bombshell.
I didn't want to interrupt you. I didn't want to interrupt you. I was confused all the way through the issue when he was talking to her because I had no idea what was happening.
Yeah, me either.
Okay, go ahead. Continue.
Anyway, he saw that vision of Ulysses that Ulysses had where the Hulk went crazy and killed everybody. So now he's having nightmares about it. Also, his parents are not sleeping very well because they're laying in bed discussing. His mother went to go meet with Jessica Jones, who's investigating Miles Morales, and she's recapping to her husband, who's a secret SHIELD agent, that how that went exactly. So now we get to Bombshell. Miles can't sleep, so he goes running around, doing what Spider-Man does, and he runs into Bombshell, and I don't know where she came from, but they're friends. And so the two of them have this discussion about whether or not being heroes is actually helping or hurting, and whether or not they're just adding to the chaos or actually doing any good. And it's funny because while they're having this conversation, it's just a montage of them fighting crime all over the city. You know, they're just busting up some shield agent or some Hydra agents and, you know, taking out let's see, I mean, you know, dealing with a fire, prison breakout. Yeah, they're having this existential crisis conversation while doing the very thing that they do. So Bombshell's opinion is that Miles is doing what Tony Stark wants him to, and it's not his own decision because Tony Stark's a rich white dude. That's harder to say than it should be. Who's just telling him what to do, and that's what rich white dudes do, and that Miles is being manipulated by Tony Stark, which is not unlikely. I mean, just kind of knowing Tony Stark, he's kind of like that. I mean, he's really good at talking people into doing things for him. So I don't know. Maybe he is manipulating Miles.
That's possible.
So the next day at school, Miles gets a call from Tony, and Tony asks him to come to the big superhero showdown that's happening at the Triskelion, which I guess we saw in the last issue of Civil War, where, you know, they're all the big splash page where they're all getting ready to fight each other. And just as he's about to go, Jessica Jones and Luke Cage show up together. And my assumption is that they're going to tell him not to go do that. That, you know, let them fight it out, and he just needs to go and be Miles for a while. Just a guess. They don't discuss it in the issue. Them showing up is literally like the last page, but yeah, it was all right.
Yeah, it was.
I'm interested to see what they talk about in the next issue and the decision that Miles makes.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't it was all right.
Yeah, wasn't half bad.
No.
It's been an okay series so far. We're 7 issues in. It's fine.
Yeah. That brings us to Spider-Man 2099, number 14. Let me preface this by saying this is written by Peter David, who I really enjoy. I'm a very big fan of Peter David's work. There are few writers that when they write something, I make a point of reading it. And Peter David happens to be one of those people. But I'm losing track of what he's doing in this book. So you've got Spider-Man 2099. You got Spider-Man 2099, Miguel O'Hara. Back in 2099, he was at the end of last issue. He was captured by Jake Gallows, the Punisher of this 2099 universe, and he's on the way to prison where he's rescued by Ghost Rider. At this point, he starts being rescued by a series of heroes. Now, I lost track, so before the podcast, I wrote down how many heroes are in this book. It includes, from the 2099 series,
because it's a bunch:
Ghost Rider, Iron Fist, Captain America, Ravage, Hawkeye, the Defenders, which include Hulk, Hercules, Namor, and 2 characters I'm not familiar with, Hawkeye, Moon Knight, who happens to be the Sorcerer Supreme, and Power Pack, who happen to now be adults. All 3 members of Power Pack who happen to now be adults. I don't know how many, what is that, a dozen? 12, 15?
Something like that. Wait a minute. Is Midnight the Sorcerer Supreme, or is this Doctor Strange lady Sorcerer Supreme?
I really got confused, and I actually read the page twice, and I'm not sure. It's a female Moon Knight who I think is the Sorcerer Supreme. I think.
Well, she was
I really
exorcising
don't
a
know.
demon from Doctor Strange's whoever his replacement
Okay.
is, who's also a lady.
These few sentences tell you how confusing this book is.
Exactly. It's gotten real convoluted real fast.
And I love Peter David, but this is just a train wreck. It maybe by the time you can take the 6 or 8 issues that are in this story arc and sit down and read them as a whole, and they'll all make sense. But right now, this is just a mess. The art's not bad.
Yeah, the art's not bad. It's one of those books where you pick it up and you're like, okay, wait a minute. What happened last issue?
Dude.
Hang on. Wait, I thought we were over here. Wait, we're back in this world? Okay, who's that guy? Why is he here again?
And you got characters jumping back and forth between 2017 and 2099, and villains and heroes jumping back and forth. And what a flipping mess, man.
And not to mention, like, every time Miguel O'Hara makes a change, the 2099 universe itself shifts and changes.
Dude.
The Sinister Six was in charge a little while ago, and the Sinister Six should have never been in charge because it's right, and because he screwed up the timeline somehow.
Right.
It's complicated, and I'll let you go ahead and recap.
It'll make your head hurt.
Yeah.
No, that's it. I'm done recapping. That's it. Done.
Yeah.
Peace out.
Dude, it was a mess. And what I did enjoy was I like seeing these alternate universe characters, much like Spider-Gwen that I'm going to talk about in a minute. We get to see what some of these, it's the familiar, it's that juxtaposition between what's familiar and what's new that intrigues me. And the new opportunities that you can bring when you create these alternate universe characters. But it's subtle and well done in Spider-Gwen. In 2099, they're just smacking you in the face with, hey, look, a new hero that you kind of recognize. But he's different.
Yeah, but when you read how Jason Latour is doing it in Spider-Gwen versus how Peter David is doing it in at one point, there was an entire 2099 universe with about 6 titles running in it.
Right.
And Peter David is trying to take all those characters and shoehorn them into one book. And dude, I don't know, man.
And I understand that part of the whole Secret Wars thing was so that they could openly explore some of these other universes. They're doing it with Spider-Gwen. They're doing it in Web Warriors. They're doing it a lot in the Spider-Man books, if you hadn't noticed. It's happening with Howard the Duck a little bit. Yeah, I mean, that's cool, and I want to see them flesh out the 2099 universe along with the others, but this is kind of ham-fisted.
Yeah, man, and I love Peter David, but this is rough.
I like 2099 Spider-Man. I think that stuff's cool, but and I mean, it's not unreadable garbage, but if you're thinking about picking this up and just kind of starting with it, no, you're going to have to go back to the beginning
and wait a couple of issues so you can read this whole thing in one sitting, and hopefully it'll make sense.
Anyway, what is good in the Spider-Man universe,
no doubt,
is Spider-Gwen. So, continuing the storyline, Gwen still doesn't have her powers, and now even her power-up device has been destroyed by Frank Castle and Kraven the Hunter. And even if this alternate universe teenage Reed Richards can fix it, this is what I was talking about. You have this like super young genius 14-year-old Reed Richards running around in this universe. It's really cool. But she only has 5 power-ups left to use before she runs out. And a 6th one was stolen by Frank Castle. who's trying to prove the connection between her dad and her, and he needs some sort of proof. And now he's attempting to blackmail Norman Osborn into assisting in this crusade against Spider Woman. I'm not entirely sure what he's got on Norman Osborn. Is it just that Norman wants something, wants revenge for Harry?
Well, I think nobody knows that Harry was the Green Goblin and caused all that mass destruction, if I understand it.
Oh, right. You're probably right. Okay, I can see that. So, you think he's putting together like his own Sinister Six here, or like the
I'm not
beginnings of
sure.
one? Can you
I don't
imagine
really
like
know
the
what he's up
Punisher,
to.
like the Punisher and the Goblin and all these, and maybe even the evil Cindy Moon and all these villains that they're kind of creating in this universe, all of a sudden assemble them into a Sinister Six for Gwen Stacy.
Right.
Again, universe building. So talking to Jesse Drew, Gwen, Jesse Drew sends Gwen Frank Castle's government file, and turns out he's a pretty bad dude. He was in some experimental military operation way back in the day, and Jesse just tells her to run. You need to just get out of here. And she thinks about running to the main universe, the 616 universe, for a minute. And she's not sure what to do. So in the meantime, Reed is able to fix and improve her power-up device. He even puts it in her web shooters for her, so all she's got to do is touch them together and age. Well, I won't spoil it, but man, that's a nice piece of art on that last page.
Yeah, it is. It's very cool.
Yeah. Also, I like her little run-ins with the Bodega Bandit. That guy's funny. It's like her arch nemesis.
Yeah, and nobody cares that he's getting arrested, which I thought was pretty funny.
Yeah, because there's just so many other things going on that who cares?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying this this book. I like the character. I like the world they're building. This is a fun story. It's good, man. I can't complain. Good. They're really doing a good job with most of the Spider-Man stuff these days.
Yeah, this is a very good book.
Absolutely. That's pretty much it as far as Spider-Man books go. Then we've got this X-Men, or not X-Men, excuse me. This all-new Wolverine annual. Did you read this?
I did.
Before I discuss it, how did you feel about it?
It wasn't terrible. It was a little confusing, and it felt like they took a writer, and it felt like it was a first-time writer or an inexperienced writer, and they were giving him the opportunity to write a book. It wasn't bad. It just wasn't great.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the times they use these annuals to kind of tell these little one-off stories or to have a little fun or whatever. So just to start out, they're in Laura's apartment when all of a sudden there's a big flash of light and Laura runs out into the living room and just jumps out a window and onto a car and just utterly destroys herself. Thankfully, she has mutant healing and heals right back up. Elsewhere, Gwen Stacy, who's in the middle of a set with her band, the Mary Janes, forgets how to play the drums destructively. As she is in the middle of playing drums and then suddenly destroys her whole drum set because she forgot what was going on. So just to move this along a little faster, it turns out that Laura Kinney and Gwen Stacy got their brains swapped because they were standing in the same space in two opposite universes when some scientist lady across the street conducted an experiment of some kind. So the whole bit is it's a Freaky Friday situation where they've switched bodies and don't know how to manage. And they have to go on an adventure to find out who this lady is and get their bodies turned back before they're stuck like that forever. Also, there's Wolverhampton, and man, if that's not a shoehorn joke, I don't, dude. You go a long way for that joke.
Yes, you do.
Yeah. So there's some interesting bits about them being in different bodies and things they didn't know they can do, and them breaking stuff and learning how to use each other's abilities rather than their own.
It was funny seeing Gwen Stacy pop the claws into her face because she didn't realize which way her fists were pointed. That was pretty funny.
I was just about to bring that up. Dude, she's just about to do something. She's just about to go to town on this lady and just not really understanding what she's just doing, just sticks her claws right through her own face. Oh man, it was pretty good.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah. Anyway, they swap their brains back and everything's fine. You also get a little bit of concept art at the end, which I think is neat.
That was neat. Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a terrible book. It just wasn't, it just wasn't great.
Yeah, it was okay.
And it's like somebody said, okay, let's figure out what we could do if we could throw, Spider-Gwen and Wolverine in the same book and see what happens.
Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry, I've got something stuck in my throat. So that was our only X-Men book this week. We only had one Avengers book as well, Uncanny Avengers number 13. So this book is the events of Bruce Banner's murder from the perspective of Deadpool. And also the falling out of that, Clint's trial and all the goings on following his brutal murder of the Hulk. So Deadpool breaks into a prison with the plan to spring Hawkeye out of jail. But Hawkeye's decided he's not going to leave, even though Deadpool created a whole new identity for him. He's just going to face the courts, which we already knew all this, but seeing it from a different perspective is neat. And I think there was some newfound respect between Deadpool and Hawkeye. For once, somebody actually understood and respected Deadpool, and I think he appreciated that. Meanwhile, Captain America is meeting with the Inhumans. Ulysses has had a vision of Cable betraying the Unity Squad and breaking the law, which Captain America confronts him about, and Cable basically says, listen, I hadn't done anything wrong, so pound sand, I'm going to go do stuff. And he and Rogue and Sebastian Shaw and Toad,
yes,
are going on a mission to find a cure for the Terrigen poisoning of mutants. And apparently during that time, he's going to do something that pisses Captain America off.
Yes.
I'll be honest, I'd like to see Cable and Captain America throw down.
I've seen it before. It's entertaining.
Where have we seen it before?
I don't know, man. I believe in one of the Cable books.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, it's a good issue. I like what they're doing with this team in general. It's all right. It wasn't half bad.
I have seen during the IVX series, and again, when I read these series, all I read is the main books. So like I've read Civil War, and I read the 8 main books. Now I'm getting to read the other books that are fleshing it out. So as I've read IVX and read the conclusion last week, I saw a glimpse of Sebastian Shaw helping the mutants. And I was like, what's up with that? Like, what? Sebastian Shaw helping the mutants? I'm looking forward to seeing more of that as the Death of X and IVX books come out in Unlimited. I want to see how that happens. And
He's
apparently
really
this is the first we're seeing of that.
I feel like Sebastian Shaw has really been an underused character
For decades.
Yeah, I mean, they introduced him with the whole
very long time. Right.
They introduced him with the Hellfire Club, and he did a few things. He'd pop up here and there, and he was always doing something with. Dang it! What's his name? The weird doctor who experiments on mutants.
I want to say Donald Pierce, but that may not be right.
No, Sinister, Mr. Sinister.
Yeah.
He and Mr. Sinister are always doing something together. And
right.
Yeah, but I feel like you could really, if you pulled the Emma Frost on him and turned him into like a hero or anti-hero, but like a good guy, but with questionable morals,
right.
You might be able to actually do some cool stuff with him.
Sure. So
you can't do interesting stuff with.
This book is just bad, man. It's Ant-Man number 11, and can somebody just shoot it and put it out of its misery?
Yeah, man. I'll be honest. I got about 4 or 5 pages in and just couldn't do it. I skimmed the rest of it.
I will say this. Jordan Boyd did the cover, and that's actually a pretty decent cover. It's not bad. It's a simple cover, but it looks good. It's a good looking cover, and the interior art's not bad. But
yeah, that's not why I'm buying the book.
I understand. You spend the first 2 or 3 pages recapping how he got to where he is.
Yeah, the last issue,
which we spent 11 issues getting to how he got in jail. And basically he sacrifices himself. Cassie got herself into this mess, his daughter.
Yeah.
And then he sacrifices himself to keep her from going to jail. So he takes the fall for, he takes the rap. And then we see his life in prison, with him getting beat up. And, we go through his whole life in prison, which is fine. And then Jennifer Walters is there to try and get him out. That's the issue. And if that sounds completely unexciting, it was.
Yeah. And again, maybe this is one of those that reads better when you just read it, the whole thing.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either, but I was trying to say something
I really nice. Don't. You know what? I said something nice about the cover, which I think is as far as I can go.
Okay.
And we say it every month. This is a great character. I was Pi and I were sitting at lunch. Pi is a person, by the way, Pi, not a food. Pi and I were sitting at lunch today watching. To what?
It's Pi Day today. Pi?
Yes, it is actually. Yes.
Yeah, 3.14.
But he and I were sitting there watching Captain America Civil War at lunch. Yeah. And we got to the fight scene at the airport where Scott Lang, Ant-Man, is there. And he's such a great character. And he's so underutilized in this comic book. I mean, there's just so much they could do with him that they're just not doing. Anyway, he's just so underutilized.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shame, really, because they could do something cool with Ant-Man, but this sucks.
Yeah.
Anyway, Guardians of the Galaxy number 11 is not half bad, actually. So the Guardians are finishing up their, just dismantling of the Badoon prison planet. Meanwhile, Ben Grimm's got this alien romance blooming, and I don't think she's a Badoon lady, but she's not. But I don't know. Ben Grimm fell in love with an alien.
Yeah.
So the Guardians are going to head back to Earth. because Peter Quill wants to see what this whole thing with Carol Danvers is about, and Kitty Pryde needs to buy new underwear. I don't know why, or why they felt the need to tell us that, or anyway. The Guardians arrive on Earth with less than a warm welcome, and Carol explains to them why she called them in the Obi-Wan Kenobi fashion, from a certain point of view. And then she pulls Peter Quill aside for a private conversation and really explains the full breadth of the situation with Rhodey dying and Thanos is on Earth, and how what Tony's doing with all this, how he's dealing with it. And the real issue is Thanos, because Gamora's here and it's her. She wants to kill Thanos, which that's all very complicated stuff with her and Thanos. Family stuff. And Peter and Kitty have a discussion about whether or not they're going to tell Gamora that Thanos is on Earth or how to tell her. Also, naked Thanos.
Yeah.
Much in the same way they did with the Hulk. Let's just thank God for those shadows.
Yep.
It wasn't half bad. It was okay.
This is true.
I really like the dynamic between Kitty and Peter, because they can just kind of sit down and have conversations like this. It's not, I don't know. They seem very at ease with one another. So go ahead and tell me about Rocket Raccoon and Groot number 8. Has it improved at all?
Oh, hang on. I'm looking for something.
Oh. What are you looking for?
I'm looking. Bear with me just a moment. Okay. I love Scotty Young's artwork.
Me too.
But he is no longer writing this book.
Yeah.
God bless him.
Thank God.
And this book is finally entertaining.
Is it really?
Did you read it?
No.
You should go back and read it. This is what Rocket Raccoon and Groot is supposed to be. It's hilarious. It is absolutely hilarious, because it begins with Captain Marvel and all the heroes are gathered around, and it's before one of Ulysses strikes, and she's up there explaining everything. And all Rocket Raccoon hears is, okay, listen up. This is important. Blah, 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 blah. And that's all he hears. And Blue Marvel was supposed to be leading one of the teams, and he's talking to Blue Marvel. And he's like, that's Puck. And he's like, what's a Puck? It's dude, wait a minute. Wolverine's a girl now? Yes, she's a girl. I am Groot. No, Wolverine's a girl. It's just, and the whole time you cut back to Captain Marvel, and all he's hearing is blah 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 blah, and it's obviously important stuff. And then right in the middle of it, there's going to be an invasion of a baby powder factory, and
what?
Rocket Raccoon stuff. Well, hey, we got dibs on that. We want to go protect the baby powder factory. There's no reason to go protect the baby powder factory, and they insist they want to do it. And she's like, okay, look. I know you have a self-serving secret plan to go to the baby powder factory, so tell me what it is. No. And then she makes them fly commercial down there. She won't even give them a ship to go. She makes them fly commercial. Gwenpool is waiting on them when they get down there. It's just hilarious, man. It's absolutely hilarious. It's just this is what this book should have been from issue 1. They wind up fighting Gwenpool, who gets her sword stuck in Groot. I made fun of the wooden character in the Inhumans annual last week, and completely forgetting that Groot is a tree also.
Yeah,
but somehow Groot works and the Inhumans character didn't.
Because you can't have a serious character made of wood.
No, and this is just so much better written without Scotty Young writing it. And it's just, dude, he catches the humor. And I just flipped away from whoever the writer was. He catches the humor of what Rocket Raccoon and Groot are supposed to be. It's just funny.
Yeah, and bless Scotty Young's heart. He's a good artist, and I'm sure he has ambitions to write, but he just wasn't good, man. I'm sorry.
No, it just wasn't.
Okay, well, I'm gonna take a dive back into this on your word, since you said it's what it should have been from the get go. Because I like the silly books like this. We're talking about Howard the Duck later. Squirrel Girl. I look forward to every month. I like this. I like Gwenpool. I like the silly stuff sometimes.
Yeah, I mean this is laugh out loud funny, man. I mean, they pull up to a bunch of rednecks and say, "Hey, do you recognize this guy?" And they're like, "Hey, man, don't profile us. What, you think everyone else has a beard looks the same?" And then they look at the picture and say, "Hey, yeah, we do recognize him. That's Chandler. He lives out by the garbage dump." I mean, it's just, dude, it's just funny stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
It's funny, man.
Yeah.
It is.
What wasn't funny was Carnage. What are we on? Number 11 here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a friggin' horror story, man.
Yeah, it's literally a horror story.
Yes.
But man, that cover is cool.
Yeah,
I would totally put that on my wall. No joke. Who did this cover? Oh, it's Mike Del Mundo. Okay. That's why it's so good. So, continuing with this horror story, Carnage has arrived on the island that he was trying to find.
And this is not hyperbole that we're using. This is a horror story.
Yeah, it's a horror story. That's what this is.
Yes.
It is a horror story in, Jason and Freddy slasher, kind of movie kind of thing. It's a horror story.
Yes. Meanwhile, back on the ranch.
Yeah, he's being pursued by this group of people that are after him, and the crew follow him into this jungle on this island, not knowing that they're being followed by something else that's probably just as bad as Carnage. So while they're searching through the jungle, one of the crew questions what this Victoria Montesi is up to, who's the leader of this group that's looking for Carnage. And she works for this group called the Children of the Midnight Sun, which is definitely not what you would name a cult that worships a evil demon god or anything. Definitely not a cult name. Nope, definitely not. But before she can explain about all that, they stumble upon this mysterious graveyard. And in a chest in this graveyard, they find a ship manifest from the 1800s describing the creatures that live on this island. And of course, the description in the journal is horrific. It's just the scariest thing you've ever read. It's the sort of thing that if you just found an old book on a beach somewhere and started reading it, would probably scare you to death. Which is exactly what's happened to these people. Then they get attacked by these exact same creatures that are on this island, and after they've dispatched with the creatures, there's a big bloody fight, lots of dead bodies and blood and guts and gore. They continue reading the manifest and find out exactly what goes on this island that's inhabited by these creatures called the Broodlings of Chthon. And it looks like now these creatures intend to sacrifice Carnage or something. They're preparing him for some sort of ritual.
Yes.
Yeah, if you like any kind of Lovecraftian horror or just any sort of existential horror, this is your book. Or if you just like blood and guts and gore and not happiness, because this book is not happy.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it. I'm usually not actually into the horror stuff, but actually this is all right. But if you're not into the horror stuff, this ain't going to be your thing.
No.
Still pretty good. Still pretty good.
It's not bad. It's just, this is just, this is Or
I actually want to go back and from issue 1 count how many take the actual body count of this series.
you would need a notepad and have to make a mark by the dozens, not for one, but by the dozens.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it is what it is.
Which brings us to Deadpool and Gambit number 4. Astonishing Ant-Man was bad. Let me tell you what the cover of Deadpool and Gambit number 4 says. Look, promise you, this is what it says. Mm-hmm. This issue features virtually no Deadpool and even less Gambit. That's what it says. That is what the cover says.
Okay.
Because, excuse me, in the last issue, they had their powers reduced and taken away. And in this issue, we spend the entire issue learning about a character called Scrambler, whose ability is to scramble mechanical things and scrambles people's power.
I'm really glad it's not a power to scramble eggs.
And we learn, he probably uses it for that. He uses it for everything else.
Sure.
And we learn why how he got his powers and why he's mad at Deadpool and Gambit and, why he scrambled their powers and why he's angry with them. And, here's the thing. I don't care. I really don't. Because literally, as the cover said, there's no Deadpool and Gambit. It's a Deadpool and Gambit book, and there's no Deadpool and Gambit. So yeah. It's bad. The only thing is you realize the guy that's Chalmers that has been conning Deadpool and Gambit. At the end of the issue, you realize who he really is. It's the only thing that happens in this. If you care, if at this point you've hung out 4 issues and you still care, you know who he is at the end of the issue. It's that bad, man. It's bad. It's just
okay. I was going to ask if it got any better, and apparently not.
No, it got worse. I mean, at the end of last issue, Deadpool became Iron Pool or Iron Fist or Fist Pool or whatever he became. And I had hopes for this issue. And then, we get a whole issue with him, with this dude that I've never seen before and never want to see again. And I was just like, seriously, dude, it was just bad. It was just bad.
That's a bummer. Because Deadpool versus Gambit could be good.
It could be. It could be very good. And it's just not.
Oh, well.
So what is good is Nova. Nova what number are we on? 10?
10. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sam, we begin today with Sam at school, and you know how I feel about teenage heroes. But we begin with him at school having to deny to all his friends who's figured out that he's Nova, and he has to deny it, and he's determined to figure out what's wrong with his helmet and how he works. So he goes to space and begins to look for a character that he thinks will be able to tell him how it works. And what he's looking for is a space. Somehow CNN got hold of some of Donald Trump's income tax information.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, for 2006 anyway. Who will be able to tell him something about the Nova Force, or at least what happened to Richard Rider. Now, that's why I find this interesting, is because it's leading us to Richard Rider. So he's looking for his helmet's power source, and I forget, what's this guy's name? Monarch. That's it, Monarch. So he finds Monarch, and Monarch's got a little bit of trouble, and they wind up facing who's that they wind up facing? A couple of members of the Fiddle Faddle.
Yeah,
a couple
no,
of members of the Shire Empire of Gladiators strike force.
Oh,
It's
okay.
a dude that looks like Wolverine and Cannonball's wife, and I can't remember what they're called, what their names are. Anyway, they wind up fighting them for a while. It's pretty cool. Finally, they wind up getting off world, and there's a space, a spot in space. It's a void, and they keep going to different voids, and they're finally on the 16th or 17th one. And Sam gets out of the ship to go take a look, and he can't see anything. But when he gets there and actually gets on top of it, the void recognizes him and allows him to enter. And there's a really cool piece of art there on page 20, because it literally recognizes him as a member of the Nova Corps and allows him to enter. And when he enters, allows him to enter the Nova World Mind.
Yeah, that was
which is
cool.
just totally cool. It's totally cool because
it looks like a big Nova cathedral.
It looks like a big Nova cathedral because what you got to understand is the Nova Mind was bonded with Richard Rider until he died.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was literally carrying the World Mind with him when he died. So if Sam has somehow gotten into the World Mind, he's somehow gotten into at least what was Rich Rider's brain. Somehow. Right. So we're on the way to finding the last Nova, which I think is pretty cool.
Okay, that is pretty cool.
If you're a Nova fan, it's really cool.
Yeah, I didn't understand the significance of that.
What happened is when the Nova Corps died, and all the Nova Corps died, the World Mind literally downloaded itself into Richard Rider, into his costume, into his helmet, into him.
Yeah.
The whole World Mind downloaded itself into his helmet and into his brain. So when Sam has gone into this World Mind, he's gone into Richard Rider, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what you're looking at here.
We could find out that the World Mind is Richard Rider now.
It very well could be, yes. It could be all that's left of Richard Rider.
Right. So now you have, Richard Rider lives on as the World Mind, but you have this younger Nova.
Well, see, what happened is 3 people went in there, which were Star-Lord, Thanos, and Richard Rider, and the deal was Thanos or Richard Rider and Star-Lord weren't going to let Thanos out alive. Mm-hmm. Well, the reason Gamora was so ticked and ready to kill Star-Lord was she went off and left Richard Rider in there to die. And she was pretty mad at him for, quite a while because, she left Richard Rider behind to die. Well, if Star-Lord and Thanos can make it out alive, why can't Richard Rider?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Now you've got my attention with this. I'm a little more interested in it than I was before.
Now you understand why I was so excited about it.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense. See, I just don't have that knowledge, which is why you're on this podcast. You have
there you go. See?
You have the knowledge.
All that knowledge just rolling around in my head with no notes.
You have the knowledge. I have the fresh takes.
There you go.
That's what we do. It's our yin and
yang.
Yeah. Thunderbolts number 4. So I feel like this book's losing a little bit of its steam, even with the development that happened in this book. So we've got one of the Thunderbolts is having second thoughts about this whole Thunderbolt thing. I guess it's Mach 10. I don't know their names really.
Yeah, Mach something. 6, 7, 10. I don't know. Don't care.
Yeah, and it's the whole thing about Pleasant Hill, and he and one of his teammates have a conversation about Pleasant Hill and whether they were doing the right thing and what that transgression really was. And yeah, anyway, looks like Shield's put the word out about the Thunderbolts, so now they're going to have a hard time to operate covertly. Shield's on the lookout for him, and it turns out so is the Squadron Supreme, because they show up at the site of the Thunderbolts' last mission there in Georgia with those Terrigenesis pods, or what we think are Terrigenesis pods. They might not be. They're able to track. They're investigating a super weapon, which is, of course, the sentient cosmic cube Kobik, and they're able to trace the exhaust from the Thunderbolt's jet back to their base. So they drop in unannounced. Of course, that results in a fight. The Thunderbolts get overpowered, and Kobik, being convinced to try and save her friends, uses her powers against Bucky's wishes and teleports them to the North Pole. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like this book is doing a thing that we know books do sometimes. And that's run around in circles until another storyline catches up with you so that you can tell the story you created this book to tell.
Yeah.
Until Thanos gets out of the prison and starts searching for Kobik and finds her and whatever that's going to be. Yeah, I feel like that's kind of what this book is kind of doing.
Yeah,
this is issue number 4, and you know, it had a strong start, but they've kind of just been preoccupied with other things at the moment.
Yeah.
And then mentioning the Squadron Supreme, we have Hyperion. And so Hyperion just wants to be a better person and improve things, but he's really not sure that he can. That's the whole thing. He's having this existential crisis, and that's why he's driving a truck across the United States in the first place.
I really enjoyed this book, by the way.
I actually did too. So Iron Man crashes his hotel room and tells him he's bringing him in for the murder of Namor. Of course, Hyperion's not going to go with that. He's not going to go quietly. So the two of them fight about it for a couple pages. Tony Stark uses some science fiction about neutrinos to subdue Hyperion long enough for them to have a friendly chat about the morality that separates justice from revenge. Then Thundra shows up, knocks the crap out of Tony, puts him out of the fight. Mark explains that there's bigger fish to fry at the moment, and that Dahl's brother isn't actually dead because he's a weird alien thing. And he's summoned his redneck army, and they're all coming after him because he views Dahl to be his property. Dahl, by the way, is the girl that he met at the diner. So Tony wants to end things peacefully, but Hyperion intends to just kill them all. You know, just kill them all, let God sort them out. And he dispatches them pretty easily by just throwing himself up in the air and then bringing himself back down like a nuclear bomb. And while waxing poetic about being a god, he just bombs the crap out of these people. So even though Junior always grows back, he can't breathe in space, which is where Mark takes him. He just tosses him out in space where he can't hurt anybody. Then Hyperion and Thundra leave Earth into space to search for Hyperion's homeworld. And Tony Stark helps Dahl legally emancipate herself from her brother. So it all worked out for a happy ending, mostly. Yeah, I assume this is the last issue in the series. It was number 6. Yeah, it was okay. It wasn't half bad. I think if you just read this as a little trade paperback, it'd be a fun little story. Maybe not fun, but you know, it's a good story. You've got the whole thing about, you know, searching for one's destiny and leaving the world better than you found it and all that stuff. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I would. It's not how I remember an ending, but okay.
What?
I don't know, man. I read so many comics, sometimes I forget how they end.
Okay. Well, tell me about Silver Surfer number 6, because my app wouldn't open it and I couldn't read it.
Oh.
Except it says number 200 on the cover, so I'm confused.
It's the 200th
Why does it
issue.
say 200 on the cover, but it's number 6?
If you count up all the Silver Surfer issues that have been published, it's the 200th issue.
Okay, this is issue 6 of volume whatever.
Yes, it's the 18 original issues to 140 something in the original run, a few other runs here and there. It's issue 200. If you go to the very back of it, there's actually all 200 covers, which is kind of cool, actually. I always enjoy looking at those.
Yeah.
Be nice if I could see all 200 of those covers or issues in Unlimited, which I can't, but, you know, at least I could see the covers. Maybe someday I'll actually get them in Unlimited. We could go through and I could tell you the ones that aren't in Unlimited. Anyway, I'm not angry about it.
No, you're not salty about not being enough Silver Surfer for you in the app. Don't worry.
Well, see, the thing is, I mean, there's so many issues that are tied to the Infinity Gauntlet that aren't here that just irritate the fire out of me. I'm sitting there looking at them.
They'll probably show up sometime before Infinity War this summer. No, next summer.
I mean, the dang things are tied to the Infinity Gauntlet, and they're just, you know, they lead right up to it, and they're not in. Anyway, they're just not here.
Yeah, sometimes that happens, man.
But I'm not bitter. I'm over it. I'm over it.
You go ahead and tell yourself that.
As I sit here looking for it. As I sit here looking for them.
You know they're not there. Why are you looking for them?
I don't know. I just thought I'd look at the covers and, you know, hope I could see them someday. So anyway, we begin with these unusual creatures who have come up from the bowels of the earth that are in this aquarium that are causing people nightmares. And the guys at the aquarium don't know what to do with them. So then we travel over to Dawn's mother's house, who she hasn't seen for 30 years.
Oh yeah, that's where the last issue ended.
Norrin Radd has taken her to, and Dawn is not particularly happy about.
No, I imagine not.
No, because, you know, she hasn't seen her mother for 30 years, and her mother isn't exactly happy about seeing her. So she and her mother sit down and start having a very awkward conversation. Meanwhile, Norrin is outside facing a very unusual list of villains that are also the creatures coming up from the earth, wanting to essentially feed off of Norman's cosmic energy, is what it turns out to be. And Spider-Man somehow shows up there in Oakland, California, to help Norrin fight the creatures. And he eventually determines that they want his cosmic energy, and he gives them his cosmic energy, and they feed off of it, and they live happily ever after. And somehow Dawn is attacked and needs an O-negative transfusion, which her mother refuses to give her. So Norrin takes her back to the East Coast real quick and gets her transfusion from one of her relatives there. And they decide to leave Earth, or Dawn decides that they're going to leave Earth and apparently not come back because she isn't wanting to see her parents or her sister or anybody. She's wanting to go away for a while. It's kind of sad.
Yeah, it's a bummer, but they do better when they're in space.
Yeah, it was this was an arc to bring her home and kind of, you know, give her some history and some backfill, which they did, and now they're going to take it back into space where it needs to be.
Right. This is, again, we keep talking about it, and you know, this is the template they used. It's Doctor Who, man. You gotta bring the companion home occasionally so that she knows what she's got when she goes back into space and time with the Doctor. You know, and they're going to go on some crazy adventure and have a good time.
I think one thing they did is they made the Silver Surfer a hero on the Earth. And I was afraid they were going to screw it up before they sent him back out to space. And they didn't. He's still a hero as he left, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Also, Twitter's exploding. Yeah, good stuff. I'll read it eventually. Maybe. I hope. Howard the Duck number 10.
I hope you read this thing
Uh,
because I got like 4 pages in it. It said just 11:30 at night. I was tired. I thought, all right, let me read this. And I got 4 pages into it and I was like, I can't do it. I just can't.
yeah, this is one of those books where the editors they're using Howard the Duck as a character in a book to just kind of let some of their writers do whatever they want. Take your wacky ideas, take your dumb jokes and put it here. It's the same with Squirrel Girl a little bit, but they're two different flavors. So you get just really weird stuff happening in this Howard the Duck book. And I mean, Howard's a talking duck that's a private detective, so it's weird. So I don't really know what's going on in this whole thing, but it's pretty funny. The first panel is a reference to the Batman slap meme that goes around on the internet. Then you have this introduction to this alien who is Ta-Nehisi Coates, it's an alien version of Ta-Nehisi Coates, the writer of Black Panther. In fact, they make Black Panther jokes here. And this whole thing with these aliens seems to be they're the writing staff for this show that Mojo's doing about Howard the Duck that Howard the Duck has stumbled into, if you remember from last issue. Or if you don't, sure, whatever. And the whole thing it just seems to be pokes at the Marvel writing staff, particularly the writers on Howard the Duck, Squirrel Girl, and Black Panther. Like this whole first couple pages are all in jokes and pokes at the Marvel bullpen, essentially. And all these elements culminate in a huge battle in the middle of the city. There's some dialogue about stagnation of the universe and why you continue to tell stories and you don't just have them do the same thing over and over, almost as if they were talking about, like comic books. And how you have to tell different stories in comic books or else it gets stale and nobody cares. And you can't just have the Avengers fighting, Ultron or Kang over and over and over again. Anyway, Howard gets stabbed and maybe dies, but probably doesn't because the power cosmic or something. Yeah, that's about how much sense the book made.
There you go.
Yeah. It was okay.
It was okay.
Moving on to our very last book and off to the galaxy far, far away, we have our Star Wars book, our solo Star Wars book this week.
Which was much, much better.
Did you see what I did there?
I saw that.
Our solo
Star
Wars book. Because we only have one and it's Han Solo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good.
Okay. Yeah. All right, Han Solo number 3. Yeah, I sure did. I worked real hard on that joke.
Okay.
So Han and the other pilots from this Dragon Void race have been detained by Imperial security forces and are being questioned on this planet. Pardon me. Eventually, the proprietors of the race convince the Empire to let the pilots get on with the race, mostly because they're all going to end up dead anyway, and then they won't be a problem for the Empire anymore. So Chewie and Han make it back to the Falcon with the cargo in tow, who is the rebel informant that, the whole point of Han Solo and Chewie participating in this race is a cover for picking up these rebel informants who are being killed one by one of these other rebel informants who's turned cloak. There's also something up with this other pilot, Lou Riano, who Han keeps talking to.
Yeah, Han helped him and he helped Han.
Yeah, and there's something with the little balls of light too. I don't know what's going on there, but somehow I feel like this other pilot's going to end up being one of the informants. So the race continues, and it goes into this like 12-hour long obstacle course. Along the way, most of the other racers get to either get out of the race or get killed. Hour after they finish, it's a 1 hour reprieve on another planet before finishing up the race. This is where Han picks up the next rebel informant, who it turns out has some unfinished business with Chewbacca. And that's where that ends. So, yeah, it was all right. We're moving things along.
Yeah. Hey, you sent me a text. Is there a new Vader book coming out?
Yes, they announced it just in the last day or two. It comes out in June, so we'll see it in November. Yeah. Written by Charles Soule, art by the same person that was doing the last book. Salvador Larroca. Yeah, I was gonna say I think that was Salvador Larroca's art.
Yes.
It
was,
and it's set immediately after Revenge of the Sith. So Darth Vader has just become Darth Vader. Anakin Skywalker is dead, and now Darth Vader is the entity.
Okay, that should be entertaining.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And I was really hoping they were going to do this because they ended the last one, and everybody went, "Well, why did you do that?" And if you listen to the writer, her reason was that, you told 25 issues, you told the story you wanted to tell. There's no reason to continue on with this if you're done. But you pass it along to another writer and you put it in a different time. You can tell Darth Vader stories forever.
Sure.
In the time between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, it's like 20 years. You can tell 100 Darth Vader stories in that time. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. I'll be honest, might be one I pick up on the newsstands. Might be one I walk into Bob's and pick up.
There you go, man. I do it all the time.
Yep. So what was your favorite book this week?
Miss Marvel number 10.
Oh. It wasn't Deadpool versus Gambit?
Oh, dude.
Or Astonishing Ant-Man number 11?
No. It was Miss Marvel number 10.
Yeah. Looking at the list here, Spider-Gwen's a hot contender, and so is Uncanny Avengers. But yeah, Miss Marvel was definitely the standout. Yeah. For sure.
That's some great writing going on in that book. Some great storytelling.
Absolutely. And to see them do it with a character this new is really good. Is really cool. So our classic read this week, we're actually just going to go with the Discover tab because there's actually some really good stuff in the Discover tab. You have Al Ewing's recommended reads, which is some really good stuff there. You got Romita Jr.'s Daredevil, Jack Kirby's Captain America, Grant Morrison's Marvel Boy, which I've never read, but apparently it's worth a read. And Bill Siekwintz's New Mutants. All of those are worth reading. You have a profile on the villain, the Shadow King. That's very convenient for any of you keeping up with a particular show.
I wonder why that's there.
And more importantly, there is Iron Fist. As we know, this coming week, the Iron Fist show will be debuting on Netflix. And if you want to get a good feel of who the character is, this is a good place to start. You got his first appearance, where he gets reincarnated, which that's Matt Fraction and Ed Brubaker on that book, and that's really good, back from 2006. Yeah, there's a bunch of, his stuff in the Shadowland, Hero for Hire. Yeah. If you've enjoyed the Luke Cage Iron Fist book that's going on and you're interested in the show, probably worth reading a couple of these.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, well, that pretty much does it. We've gone a little long this week, and we discussed quite a few books. If you want to get in touch with us, please email us at 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Number 6monthsbehind@gmail.com. Pat,
The website.
what's our website?
The website is www.6 months behind at www.6monthsbehind.com. I was going to say gmail.com. I get confused.
I understand. I do too. And to leave us off this week, a little bit of wisdom. The more I want to get something done, the less I call it work. It's a little something for you to go in peace with.
There you go.
Fantastic. Well, we'll see you guys next week.
Peace.